What makes someone walk away from a $200,000 a year career and bet everything on themselves with zero real estate experience, no network, and only 3 weeks to figure it out? Well, for Eric Richards, it was a single sentence from his son: "I just wish you could stay home, Dad." And in just 19 months, Eric has built a multi division real estate company. They serve over 80 tenants, they flip homes, and they help families become homeowners, all with creative finance. This episode, it is all about betting on yourself. Let's dive in. All right, so Eric, so you took an abandoned, vandalized building and turned it into the heart of your company in a matter of weeks. Why take the risk on that?
The risk was, the reward was worth the risk. The juice was worth the squeeze. So we took a property that had great location. It is ideally located right off a major interstate. We'd probably get 500 vehicles a day that drive in front of it, but nobody ever really did any renovations to it. So it had a old manufactured house on it that at one point the property was a manufactured home dealership. Then it folded up its doors, and then they just let vegetation grow all over it. The parking lot that they used to sell mobile homes turned into like a park and ride for vehicles and cars that just come and go as they please, and nobody ever really took care of it. So it was owned by an individual that owned a lot of big commercial properties, and he ended up passing away, leaving all the properties in a trust. And the attorney that was put in over the trust was one that I had used a dozen times for real estate related matters. I did other deals, and he got to know me pretty well, and he said, "Hey, you don't do commercial deals, do you?" And I was like, maybe, depending on what they are. And he said, "Well, we have this RV park that we have in this trust." And he said, I'm over the trust. He said, "So I don't stand any financial gain from it, but the parameters of the trust are the two boys that the trust was left for. Essentially, one of them is really, really good. The other one is always in the drugs and bad things and stuff like that. So we're worried about leaving them these properties for them to fight over. So what we want to do is liquidate them, take the money, put it into an annuity that'll just pay them a monthly payment." And that's the trust's way of securing the beneficiaries. And he said, "So would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll look into it." So we started with the RV park and was looking at it. And I looked at the park and I said, "How much do you want for it?" They said like 1.2 million. And I said, "Will you do creative financing?" Right? Because I'm sub 2, that's what we do. And he said, "Yeah, write some terms up and work it out and stuff like that and see what you got." So I went and I found a developer that builds new houses, and I brought him out, showed him the property. He really liked the property. He wanted to partner with me on it to where I negotiate the deal. Since I had the connection, he would come in and build the house. The first house we would build, he and I would share the cost of as a spec house, and then we would pre-sell all the lots and just take the RV park out and just use it as a housing development after that. And he said, it takes about $120,000 to $150,000 to build a new house. He said, but we can sell them for $320,000 to $375,000, depending on which phase in the development we're going. He said, so once you build the first one, you sell the next 3, you get the money down to build the next 3 with the deposits and everything like that, and then you build them out, and after you sell 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, he said, you're completely funded and it's off to the races. And he said, just off the lay of the land and everything, he said, I think we have enough to put like 80 houses on this property. And I'm like, interesting.
That's amazing.
That's a really, that's a huge upside, right? I knew nothing about new development, so this was basically my on-the-job experience on learning how to do new development, which is a skill set that I would love to learn down the road, and everything like that. So it was an ideal situation, and we were going to move forward with it. And then I had 2 partners at the time that were in sub 2 that didn't want to do the deal, because they said if something happened to that developer, we'd already be committed to this deal, and we don't know anything about land development or any of this new development, and like if the worst case scenario happens, like we'd be screwed, like we'd have to really figure it out. And I was like, we get a new developer, we just find somebody else to come in and replace him. we already have the deal in place. Like it is what it is, and they didn't want to do it. So I ultimately negotiated with the developer just to give us a assignment fee, and then I would sign the deal over to him. So I ended up making $150,000 assignment fee on that deal. So
It's pretty phenomenal.
yeah, it's pretty cool. That's my biggest wholesale assignment so far. So we did that deal. The developer's still working it. He's still building houses. He's making stupid money that I should be making too. You know what I mean? So I'm no longer with those partners, unfortunately. But the other property that he had in the trust was that abandoned property. So they had tried to sell it 2 or 3 times back in like 2016 for $400,000 or $500,000 just because of the location, and thinking gas and oil are real big in this area. So they were thinking some big gas company would come and buy it out and put like a Buc-ee's or something here or whatever it was, just because of the location, right? So they're shooting the shot. You know what I mean? You miss 100 shots that you don't take, and they were shooting their shot and never got anybody to take it. So he was telling me that the trust has to pay out within 18 months. Both the boys turn 26, and that's when the payout needs to happen. He said, so I want a really tight timeline. I said, well, I tell you what. He said, if we can I worked out a creative deal with you on that. I said, that's working out in your favor. I said, work out a creative deal with me on this. Let me buy that property on a land contract. I'll do it on an executory contract. I said, but I'm not paying you $500,000. I said, that property is beat up and in a lot of bad shape, and it's got a lot of bad reputation because people like just park there and do whatever they want. Like people's Cadillac converters got stolen because they left their vehicles there. Like it's got a horrible reputation. I said, but I'll take that on. Let me buy it. And so we negotiated that. I bought it for $150,000. I did $15,000 down, and we did interest only payments of $300 a month until the balloon date in 18 months. So
that's amazing.
So yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
we negotiated it. We renovated the mobile home. We cleaned the lot up. We did a lot of work to make this place look really, really nice. It's really nice when you drive by here now. People all the time, when they find out this is my office, they're like, man, I wish I'd have bought that. Yeah, but you do, you know? So we were.
So you're telling me they're not getting their catalytic converters getting stolen anymore?
No, we don't.
Just outside.
We don't allow people to park here anymore. This is a professional business. We actually have signs up: no parking, no turnaround in the front, because people just still think this is a parking lot. So, but no, we were looking at a bank to essentially do a refinance for us to, pay off the balloon and pull some of the equity out. We didn't know how much it was worth, but we knew it was worth way more than what we paid for it because we cleaned it up. So we paid for the appraisal to come out. The appraisal came back at, I think, $325,000. And my wife and I just this week actually started looking at the numbers and like, well, if we refinance, say, $185,000, right? By the time we paid the $2,500 for the commercial appraisal, and we pay another $6,000 for the Alta survey to make sure that we own the property that we're refinancing, we're gonna have like $8,000 or $9,000 just to get the refinance done, right? So that 185 goes down to 175. I said we owe 135, and then you have closing costs. So we may be able to walk away with about 30 grand, 40 grand, right? But we're going to be paying the bank on the 185. It's going to be like $1,400 a month mortgage. I was like, why don't we just move to a building that we already own? We have another commercial building that has unrenovated office space in. I said we could renovate those office spaces. We'll move our headquarters into that building that we already own, and we just sell that property. And we sell it for the $325 that we appraised for because it's worth it. People say all the time, I wish I bought it. I said, so now we only owe $135. We'll sell it for $325. I'll make almost $180,000 after closing costs. And I said, we're not paying the bank. I said, we'll move down to the other commercial building. I said, I'll pay myself rent at that point, which I just pay myself, so that way it looks good on taxes. One company pays the other company for a tax break. I said, we don't give money to people that we don't need to give money to, and we made $180,000 to do it. I said, I think it's a really good deal. And she's like,
Smart. That's where the game is played, my friend.
she's like, you think we can do that? I said, yeah. So we took my whole office staff, and we took them down there and showed them that commercial space. Everybody loved it. It's actually a better layout for us. It'll be much more laid out than what this mobile home is, because we just kind of made it to an office. That is actually designated office space. Everybody's going to get a bigger office. There's no dead space, because like we have the living room and the kitchen here that we didn't really need, so it's all just dead space. You know what I mean? So that's actually determined office space, so it's a lot more user friendly. We're going to renovate it to where everybody has a nice personal space of their own, and it's centrally located for everything. So one of my third-party contractors has a HVAC company. His wife owns a beautician salon not half a mile up the road that she rents a space for $3,400 a month. And as soon as he found out that I was thinking about selling, he called me. He said, hey, between what we paid to make that a beauty salon and what we've paid in rent over the last 6 years, we've spent $300,000 already down there, and we don't own that. He said, if you're going to sell that place, I want to buy it, because I'm not staying down there another 6 years and dumping another $300,000 there when I can buy yours for $300,000 and actually own something for it. I was like, absolutely. So he went to the bank. Like, I didn't even market it, didn't even advertise it. He went to the bank today and turned all his paperwork in, and is probably going to buy this place next week for the $300,000.
Let's go.
I don't even have to market it. So, you know, it just works out, man.
That's a great start to Rich Investment Group. So that was, because that's your starting building that you started that up, correct?
No, we didn't buy this till last year. Yeah, I've been in business for 3 years. So the first 2 years, pretty much, we did it out of my house. So I mean, legitimately January, February last year, my wife and I were at our kitchen table working and doing everything from home and just keeping costs down and everything like that. The commercial building that we own, I bought it. It's a mixed use building. Bought it on owner financing because that's what we do. $350,000 purchase at 3% interest, and we paid.
That's phenomenal.
We did a down payment on it, and it had nobody in it. Like, it was just an empty building basically, and we stabilized all the commercial units and got all of them rented out now to where now I'm raising capital to renovate the apartments upstairs. So we have 3 more office spaces upstairs, which is where our offices are going to move into, and then we have 7 apartments that we're going to renovate and actually have rental apartments up there too. And by the time
cash cow.
Yeah. By the time we get that whole building done, it'll gross almost $15,000 a month after everything's said and done.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd kind of like to get into a little bit more of like what got you into real estate initially. But before that, from the RV park, what was the performance on that? Was there a reason you would have wanted to change it over to the development side?
It was non-existent, because the gentleman died when he was alive. He ran it as an RV park, and it was very successful. And then when he died, the one son that was well off I think he's a insurance agent or something out of state, and he wasn't coming back to run it. So the other son, who has all the issues and the arrests and the DUIs, like, doesn't know how to run something like that. So it just fell apart, and essentially there was the second son that had all of the issues lived in the apartment above the office. Other than that, there was no sites rented. They didn't operate as an RV park. It was just dead space. So to go back in and then redo all of the infrastructure in order to make sure the sites were done right and everything was good for operations, I mean, you'd have a pretty penny in that. So if you're gonna spend a pretty penny and it's a great location, you might as well just convert it over to a new build home development and start selling some nice houses.
That's fair. Awesome. So with that, what did get you into real estate? So you said you've been in for the last couple of years, last few years. What did you do before that, and what kind of led you into it?
I got into real estate for $43,000. That's what got me into real estate. Short answer. Long answer.
Elaborate on that.
Long answer. I had a 17-year career. I worked in a construction union. I was a union insulator for 17 years. The last 8 of those 17 years, I was always running a job. Like I would go out on the job and work for 2 weeks, and then they'd make me a foreman. Be a foreman for 2-3 weeks. They'd make me a general foreman. By the end of the job, I basically was running the thing, just because I've always kind of, I'm very outspoken. Like, you never have to worry about what I'm thinking. So if I'm going there as a worker and I have a foreman that comes up to me like, I need you to do this, I'll be the first person to be like, I'm pretty sure that's stupid. This is how we should do it, right? And he's like, oh yeah, that's way better. Go ahead and do it like that. And then we just do it. So then he'll go back and tell his general foreman or his boss, hey, these guys are great guys, you should definitely do it. And we're very likable. I had a guy that I would run the roads with, and he and I were always working partners together, and we were very personable, very funny. Like, we always made people like us, but we also knew how to do things really, really well, right? So when we would go to these jobs, we always got promoted when we were there. We never wanted to. It wasn't like we were asking for it. They would just come to us, right? So we would travel to these gigantic jobs, wherever the biggest jobs were, where you'd want to go, because they typically had the most overtime, and the overtime is where you made all your money. So if you're traveling and you're going, like, I've been to Detroit, Chicago, Boston, New Orleans, I mean, I've been all over the country for construction, right? You're paying to be out of town. You're living in a camper, or you're living in an apartment, or you're renting a hotel room. You're paying for all your food, travel, and everything while you're out. And those are not deductions. Those are things that you're eating to go. So you have to figure out, like, that fine balance of, I want to live a comfortable life, but I also don't want to spend a bunch of money to do it, right? So if you're spending money to be out there, and they come to you and say, yeah, we're going to pay you an extra $2 an hour to be a foreman, and you'll get guaranteed overtime anytime there's work, the foremans are always working, right? You're going to make more money. So you're going to take the opportunities when they get presented to make the most money to justify you being there, right? So that's how we always ended up becoming foremans or general foremans, and so on and so forth. So the last job that I was on was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 20 minutes above Pittsburgh. It was an ethylene cracker plant that essentially takes natural gas out of the ground, and they do what they call cracking it, and it's a chemical procedure where they essentially turn it into little plastic pellets, and they ship those plastic pellets to all across the world, and that's what these companies use to make everything out of: computer monitors, cell phones, toothbrushes, dashboards. Like, they melt the pellets down, put them in molds, color them, and they make them into their products, right? And that's what this entire plant is based off of. And so I went there. I was there for 2 solid years, working right after COVID. As soon as the world started opening up, I went there and worked for 2 years. So from August of 2020 to April of 2022, basically, is when I was there. And I was a general foreman, and I basically was the reason building the water treatment plant that was there. And then they moved me up to the actual cracker unit, the ECU, and they put me over the heaters that actually heat up for the cracking process, which is, very important part of the process. So I ran the heaters until the end of the job, and both times I was put in those positions, when I got moved to the water treatment plant, it was behind schedule and over budget. We finished 3 days earlier than scheduled, and we were, I think, $150,000 under budget after I took over and started running it. And then, because I know how to run these jobs, I know how to put in change orders and everything like that, to where, like, the original scope of work was 5 years prior. Like, it doesn't match what it is today. So you have to do change orders. You have to do these things in order to update everything, and you get allotted a bigger budget because of that. So me doing all that paperwork and doing all of those things that I knew how to do allowed us to be able to get a lot more money from them. So the company made a ton more money because I was running it the way it should have run. So then they moved me to the ECU. I was up there. I ran that, did the same thing up there. So when I finished that job, the company's like, hey, we want you to go to Minnesota. We have a refinery out here that caught on fire and they're rebuilding it. We want you to run that job as a superintendent and rebuild the refinery. It'll be 18 months, but it'll be a big pay increase. You'll get expenses. You'll get, we'll pay for you a place to stay out there. You'll have a company truck. Like, it's much better benefits than just going in and working your way up, right? And I think they offered me almost $200,000 a year plus the expenses and benefits and everything. And I was like,
tempting.
Yeah, it's not a bad living at all, right? I said, so I was like, I had just recently got remarried. She had two kids that still were younger kids that lived at home from a previous marriage, that I was the only father figure they knew. Like, I was the only one. Like, when her and I got together, the youngest was 1 and the other one was, I think, just turned 4. And so I was the only father figure that was in the picture, right? So I was like, let me go home. Let me have 30 days to remind my wife that she still has a husband, that the kids still have a dad, let them know what I look like, because they haven't seen me in a while. I've been gone for like 2 years, right? Like, I've only seen them 3 times a year pretty much for a day. Let me go back and like let them know I exist. And then after 30 days, I'll go to Minnesota, run your job, and we're good. They're like, perfect. We love that. So the first week, I took them on vacation. We went to Myrtle Beach, had a great family vacation because we hadn't had one in 2 years. And everything was great. The very last day, we were at the Airbnb, had a deck overlooking the ocean. It was just a picturesque kind of evening. And the youngest, my son Michael, comes and he gets up on my lap and he says, hey, when we get home, are you going to go back out on the road again? And I was like, well, yeah, buddy. I make a lot more money than mommy does. So we just moved to a new area, closer to her parents because her dad had health issues. I said, we just moved to this new area and you guys are staying with grandma and grandpa right now. I want to buy us a new house so that way you can have your own room again and we can be family dinners like we used to. And we can do all the stuff we used to do before we moved to the new area, but I make more money, so I need to go so we can afford this new house. And he just kind of started crying. And he's like, I wish you could just stay home because I miss you. And that was it. I was done. Shut it down right then and there. And I didn't sleep that night. The next day we were driving back to Ohio, and I just looked at my wife while we were driving and I said, I'm done. And she's like, what do you mean you're done? I said, I'm not going back out on the road again. She's like, what do you mean? Like, you make way more money. Like, how are you like not going to go back on the road again? And I said, well, we're very conservative people. I said, we don't need me to make $200,000 a year for us to get by. I said, let's get home, get unpacked and everything. We'll balance the books. We'll see what we need me to make with your salary for us to pay everything and have a little bit of a cushion. I said, that's what I'll try to make. That's my goal. I'll figure out whatever I need to do that, but at least I'll be home every night. And I'll be with the kids every night. And I'll make sure that we have a stable household. And then I'll build out something from there. And she's like, okay. So we get home, unpacked, get everything squared away, and we balanced the books, and we needed $43,000. I needed to make $43,000 a year for me to be able to tuck my kids in every night. So that's what I set out to do. I had 3 weeks.
Awesome.
I had 3 weeks to figure it out because I was supposed to go to Minnesota. And so my brother has a stepson himself, and he had just gotten a job in Alabama. My nephew had just gotten a job in Alabama to be a diesel mechanic for a big company down there. He's a certified diesel mechanic. And he got down to Alabama, relocated with his new wife, and got down there. And they said, unfortunately, something happened. We have to delay your hiring for 30 days. You're still being paid, but we can't bring you in for 30 days. Whatever it was, I don't know the reason. And he's like, okay. So he was getting paid to basically not work for 30 days while he relocated. So he just Googled, what can I do to make side cash within 30 days, right? and wholesaling popped up. So he looked on YouTube University, and he started looking up YouTube or how to be a wholesaler, right? And off of 2 days of watching YouTube videos, he got a property under contract and got his first deal in wholesaling, just off of watching
In 2 days?
just watching stupid videos, right?
That's impressive.
It is because so that's like when you get on Sub 2, you see all these people. Oh, I've been in for 4 years and I've never got a deal. You're lazy, because my diesel mechanic nephew, who does no real estate, did it in 2 days.
That's impressive.
He made $10,000
honestly.
off of his first deal in 2 days, right?
That's absolutely amazing, because that's especially from the diesel mechanic world. Because I mean, I was a auto mechanic in my prior days, a long time ago. But it's going from that mindset to purchasing real estate. Like, that's a pretty big leap. So that's impressive to be able to do that in that short of a time frame. So yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
he did that. Told my brother about it. My brother said, "Hey, Zach, you just did this wholesale deal in Alabama and he made 10 grand off of it. Like, he was just messing around, just trying to fill his time while he was waiting. Like as much of a savage as you are, the way that you approach things, and like how like just so dialed in as you get when you do things. Like, if you did that full time, you'd probably be a millionaire." He said, realistically, you'd crush it. You should definitely look into it. So I got on YouTube and started looking up wholesaling videos just to figure out what it was, because I had never heard of it. And Jamil Damji popped up on YouTube, and I started watching Jamil videos, and I was really, really interested at opening up my own Keighley franchise. I didn't want to just be a wholesaler. I wanted to own a business. I wanted to do something that was bigger, you know what I mean, than just doing the work. Because if you just wholesale, you're always chasing a deal. But if you run a business, you can build a business and be able to expand it and scale it and do things that just doing the work itself doesn't give you the opportunity to do. So I was watching Jamil video. I watch 12 a day, 24 a day, right? And because him and Pace had the Triple Digit Flip show on A&E, the algorithm would do like 12 Jamil videos and then one of Pace. Like, hey, you might like this, right? So I was like, okay. So I thought Pace was just another wholesaler, and I was like, all right, well, let me see what this guy does, right? So I started watching the Pace video, and it was about creative financing and building wealth and using private capital and ownership and being able to build your own portfolio to where you have, you know, not just financial for yourself, but you're building a lasting legacy for generations to come if you do it right. And I would watch like 12 Jamil videos and then one a Pace. And then the next day I'd watch like 9 Jamil and 3 a Pace. And then the next day I'd watch like 5 Jamil and 8 a Pace. And then by the end of it, I was watching, I was watching 1 in Jamil and like 15 a Pace. And I find
slippery slope.
And I was like, man, like that, what he's talking about absolutely resonates with me. I could absolutely do that. I have the skill set. I have the drive to make that happen. And I want to do that. That's what I want to do. So I called his onboarding service and talked to this kid named Jared. And I will remember Jared to the day I die, because the kid is a superstar in my book. And I talked to him. He did the little interview, because at the time, you didn't just get in Sub 2, like you had to be approved. It was a lot more stringent screening process than it is currently. I think if you have 10 grand, you get in now. But back then, like, there was only 4,000 people in it. So like they really cared about who they were letting in back then. So that way the community would build with the right people, right? Not that they don't do that now. I don't know. I'm just assuming that.
I think they do it to a certain extent, but yeah, it's hard to tell with the amount that's coming in how vetted.
Yeah, you went from 4 grand to 17,000 in like 2 years. Like,
that's quick.
Yeah, that's something to be determined. So I digress. So I talked to him. I got approved. He said it's 10 grand to get in, or it's like 6 grand for the basic. It's 10 grand for like the premier package, whatever. And I was like, all right, I'll just do the premier package. Like, I don't care. Like, I want absolutely everything available. Like, whatever I need to do, that's what I'm going to do. And he's like, okay, it'll be 10 grand. Do you want to sign up today or what? I said, let me talk to my wife now that I know what it is. I said, I'll call you back Friday. And this was a Wednesday. And he says, okay. So I set up an appointment to call him back Friday afternoon, and I did what every red-blooded American husband does. I made this big elaborate dinner and candles and had flowers and had a really nice bottle of wine, and I had I made her favorite. It was surf and turf, everything.
So what do you want?
Yeah, everything that she loves, right? And my wife is a mortgage loan officer for a bank, right? So she knows real estate. She knows this stuff. I have never done a real estate deal in my life. Anytime that I ever did anything in real estate, I would go pay cash for it, and I would write it on a napkin and take it to the courthouse. And that would be legitimately how I did real estate. I had never done a real estate transaction in my life up to this point. So I make the dinner and pouring her a glass of wine, thinking that I'm softening the blow, I've got this. Get done with dinner. I cleaned everything up, which I think was the red flag, because I cook a lot, but I never do the cleaning.
Going on.
Yeah. Right. So I clean everything up, and we end up tucking the kids in bed, and we're downstairs, and I said, hey, can I talk to you? And she's like, yeah, what about? I said, I think I figured out what I want to do moving forward now that I'm not going to be in construction anymore. She's like, She's like, go ahead. And I'm like, well, don't say it like that. She's like, well, I've been expecting this for hours, so go ahead. What is it? What hit me with it?
Lay it on me.
Right? So I was like, I think I want to be a real estate investor. And she just started laughing, in my face, just blatantly, belly laughing, right? And I'm just sitting there, stone faced, I'm serious, and I'm no, seriously, that's what I want to do. And she's like, where does that come from? She's like, you have no real estate experience at all. She's I was like, well, no. I found this mentorship that teaches me how to do, all of the things I would need to learn. They provide contracts, they give us content. There's an online course that I'll go through, helps me raise private capital to where I'm basically leveraging other people's money to come in, do these purchases and do these things, and then it'll end up building as a rental portfolio, and we'll do flips and do all of these things to where it's going to provide a lot of money for us down the road. And I said, and I think I could really do it. And she said, we're coming out of COVID. It's the most competitive market there's ever been in history. She's like, we just moved to a new area, so nobody here. You literally only lived here for a week. Because you lived in Pittsburgh for 2 years. We moved here while you were up there. Nobody here, so you have no resources. She said, you quit your job, your 6-figure job, so whatever we have in savings has to get us by until you find something new. So you really don't have any money to be investing in anything big, you know what I mean? And where did you learn about this mentorship? And I said, oh, I've seen it on YouTube and everything like that. And she's like, all right, so
red flag.
She's like, okay, so let me get. She's like, how much does it cost? And I said $10,000. And she's like, all right, so you have no experience, no resources. You're going against other investors who probably have 30, 40 years experience above you. You're in a location that you know nothing about. You don't know property values. You don't know anything about it. You have no capital of your own that you could put into this business to get it off the ground. So you have to rely on building private money from people that you've never met before. It cost you $10,000 for you to do this online training, and you learned all of this off of YouTube, and you want me to say yes? And I'm like, well, when you say
Yes.
it like that, it sounds really, really stupid. But the way I was saying it in my head, it did not sound that bad. And she's like, yeah, we're not doing that. And I'm like, well, shoot your shot, right? So fast forward to that Friday, we had to go to Pittsburgh to the apartment that I had to move everything out of it. So we took a U-Haul trailer up there, and we're moving all the furniture and putting it in and moving it out of that apartment. And Jared calls me. I totally forgot about our appointment. Jared calls me. He says, "Hey Eric, what's up, man? Just giving you that follow up you wanted about joining Sub 2. Is now a good time?" And I said, "Absolutely, Jared. Here you go." And I hand the phone to my wife, and she's like, "What's this?" I said, "This is Jared. He's going to tell you everything you need to know about Sub 2. I'll keep loading the trailer." She grills this kid for like an hour and a half. Like, and it was.
This is why you remember
I
Jared
remember
forever.
to this day, because like on the phone, he sounded like he was in his 20s, a young kid, and she grilled him like, "Well, what if this doesn't happen? And what if that doesn't happen? And what if this? And how do you know Sub 2s are even legal? Like this sounds like fraud to me. Like, I'm in mortgages. This doesn't make sense. I've never heard of this." And like, he was giving her every answer to every question, to where she was actively on my phone with him while on her phone Googling it, right? Like, what happens about this? And she would Google it, and his answer, she's like, "All right, well, technically you're not wrong. That would work. Well, what about this?" And he would give her another answer, and she would Google it. She's like, "All right, so technically that's not wrong either. Okay, well, what about this?" And I mean, for an hour and a half, I did this entire apartment in the U-Haul by myself, because she sat on the phone with Jared, right? So I just was loading the last bit up, pulled the door down, latched it. She came out, handed me my phone, and said, "Okay, every question I had, he had an answer for. Everything he told me technically was true. So I don't feel like this is a scam." She's like, "How serious are you about this?" I said, "I know I can do it. There's one thing in life that I don't do. I do not fail. If I have this opportunity, I will make this happen." And she said, "Okay, let's do it." That is the toughest sale in real estate that I've ever had, is getting my wife to sign on to Sub 2, right? Giving me the green light. To this day, I've never had a harder negotiation. You know what I mean? But that is my toughest sale in real estate to date. And that's how I got into Sub 2.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, that's an awesome story, and I could tell from your voice, from like with your kid, with your son telling you that he wanted you home more often than not. I've got brothers. Well, one of my brothers, my only brother. I'm talking about my brother-in-laws as well, but they're both they were in the fracking industry. One's still in there, and yeah, similar situation. My brother-in-law, that he was in there for quite some time. It was kind of a situation where he had that similar situation, like ultimatum, but ended up just staying in it. So I think he definitely made the right choice. I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, it wasn't even a question, right?
Yeah, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
But from that, from there, then you started up Rich Investments. Was it Rich Investments Group?
So
was at that point in time?
That was I did what Sub 2 says. I started a holding company out of Wyoming. That holding company essentially owns the parent company, Rich Investments Group, and that's what I started with everything. So I had all that started day one, and didn't even have a clue what I was doing. Like, I was still going through the Kajabi's, like, it was stupid. I did tell my wife, I said, "You're not wrong that I'm going against people that have way more experience than me. I have no knowledge in this at all. So it's not the $10,000 that you need to sign off on. What you need to sign off on is the understanding that I have this learning curve that I need to straighten out. And if I'm going to be successful with this is not going to be a part-time journey for me. Like, I have to put everything I have into this, just like I did when I was in construction. I was working 12 and 16 hours a day in construction to make the money that I was making. For us to make money in this, I have to put that same dedication to this, at least up to the point to where I have an understanding of it as well or better than my competitors." I said, "I have to do that, or this is never going to go anywhere, and we might as well just throw that $10,000 away." I said, "So if you are saying yes, you're not saying yes to the 10 grand. That's auxiliary. That doesn't matter, right? That is just the education that I'm giving myself." I said, "What you're saying yes to is that you understand the time commitment that I'm going to take on by being great at this." And I said, "If you say yes, that's what you're committing to." I said, "I'll do everything in my power to be there when the kids wake up. I'll do everything in my power to tuck them in bed every night. I'll make every effort I can to be there for family dinners and do all of that stuff. But until I feel like confidently I'm an equal to everybody else that I'm competing against in this field. Like, this is what I've got to do. And she's like, do what you got to do. She said, let's make it work. So that's what we signed on for. So the first 6 months, I was on 16 to 20-hour days. I was,
Oh, wow.
I would drop the kids off to school in the morning. I would go driving. I would meet every real estate agent that I could to try to do agent outreach. The Lonza method. I met every broker.
Yep.
I went everybody, because the Lonza method was just really getting started at that time. Like, he was promoting it big time, like agent outreach and doing all that stuff. I'd go to every meetup I could go to. I would contact every investor that I could meet. I would go meet everybody I could at Lowe's, people going in and doing flips and stuff like that. I would just strike up random conversations with people that had contractor shirts on. Like, hey, yeah, we're contractor. Hey, I'm going to be buying houses here real soon. Like, would you be interested in doing work and trying to build out my contractors and doing all that stuff? Like, door knocking. I mean, and then anytime I'm traveling, I'm playing the Kajabi on my phone through Bluetooth and learning while I'm driving. And I would listen to another lesson and be like, oh yeah, that's absolutely what I should be doing. So then I'd go start doing that for 3 days. Like, I was absolutely sporadic. You know what I mean? It was accuracy by volume.
Shiny object all over the place.
Yeah, everybody does it. Everybody gets into it, and yeah, this is absolutely it, right? So it got to the point that I was like, well, the big multifamily is the thing that really like hit me. Like, for me to make $43,000 a year, which is what my goal is, one multifamily deal could do that, right? For the year. Like, if I had one multifamily deal that I found, I could make that in one deal. So why would I go try to chase 15, 20 single family deals if I could do one multifamily deal and we got it, right? Or even do one wholesale deal for 40 grand, because you can do that on a big multifamily, right? So I committed all my time into big multifamily after 6 months, right? I mean, I called every broker in the country that I could find a phone number for, trying to get their listings for multifamily deals and stuff like that. I was reaching out to Carolyn and Myron Briley and trying to like send them deals and partner with them on stupid multifamily deals like that they should have never even looked at. Like, these are not good deals, but I didn't know it at the time. I was sending them like crazy deals, and there were a couple of guys that are in sub 2 that Morby method was like new and fresh, and they had done a Morby method deal on a portfolio in Texas. And I put a post out, hey, has anybody done a Morby deal? I'd like to pick your brain on this because I want to buy multifamily using a Morby method. And they had commented and said, yeah, we just actually did one. We'd love to talk to you. So I got on the phone with these guys and had such a great rapport with them. They're like, man, if you're interested in doing this, like, you find the deals and you just send them to us. We'll help you underwrite them, and we'll do the Morby with you, and we'll just partner with you. Just send us the deals and we'll do it together. And I'm like, love it. I said, make sure you have enough time because I'm going to be sending you a lot of deals. And they're like, yeah, okay, we've heard that before. That's cool. Legitimately, dude, I was sending them like 20 deals a day. Like, anything I could find that I thought fit the mold that a Morby would work and we could get into creative, I was sending it to them. And like, just relentlessly, like 1 an hour for 20 hours a day, just all through the day and night, just going nuts with it, right? And like 3 weeks goes by, and they call me up again, and they're like, all right, dude, like, none of these will work. But you are like so like savage about how much work you're putting into getting these to us and doing this. Like, we definitely have to partner with you, but it's just not going to be on a multifamily because none of these fit the mold. Like, you really need to like just pump your brakes and let's figure it out. And they're like, in your local market, if you would put the same energy into it that you do with these multifamilies, I'm sure we could buy a portfolio of 15 or 20 properties to where you could be making close to $40,000 a year off of your, residuals, and we'll partner. You take 50%, we'll split 50% between me and the other guy, and like, we'll run with it because you'll be the boots on the ground, and we'll just help with raising capital and doing the underwriting. And that's how we started that partnership, and we did well. I mean, we learned a lot. It's basically that's your baptism in real estate, right? You buy some properties, you have to deal with the issues, you raise the capital, you got to deal with the lenders. Like it teaches you the process at that point, right? And
Teaches you about bad partnerships, good partnerships.
100%, right? These guys are great guys. They are phenomenal guys. I still talk to them, hit and miss to this day, right? But we had such different viewpoints on how we needed to move forward with business. They wanted to transition over to be basically 100% wholesaling. And I firmly believe that if you wholesaled at that point, like you're just chasing the deal, you're never creating any wealth, right? And I wanted to do buy and holds. So we decided amicably that we needed to split and go our separate ways. So the couple rental properties that we did have at the time, we sold them, split the profits, moved on. I had the one commercial building that we're actually moving my offices to. I ended up buying them out of that building, and I own that building to this day. That was one of the first things that I bought and did, because I knew the value of that building long term was going to be massive, right? So I separated from them, and we sold everything off, and I started from scratch again. And that was about 19 months ago. And from 19 months ago to now is what I've built in 19 months. And
That's awesome, man.
it's definitely a learning curve, but in 19 months, we're to the point now that I think we have 80 or 85 long-term rentals now. We have a wholesale team that does around 7 to 10 deals a month. We have a fix and flip team that does 2 to 3 flips a month. We are getting ready to open up our own property management company probably beginning of the month, where we're going to be managing other people's. I have a maintenance company that's going to do all the maintenance for the property management properties, so that way we can be able to essentially source our own revenue from that.
Finally have your own in-house asset management team.
I have that as well. And then we opened up our own podcast studio to where now I'm doing my own podcasting, and then we're offering podcasting, digital marketing, digital media, and everything for anybody else in this area that wants to get into more of the streaming side of things instead of the traditional, TV and radio ads, that sort of thing. So like we're building out that customer base as well to be able to build that out. So yeah, it's
impressive, man.
Yeah, it's definitely been busy. So
It's good to bet on yourself. It's painful at first, but it's good to bet on yourself in the long run.
Yeah, I basically from that original partnership, I was worried about like everybody else's opinion on how we should move forward, and then I realized like I got into this knowing I was going to be successful. If I basically dialed it back because somebody else didn't want to take a risk or didn't want to move forward when I knew better, like I shouldn't be dialing myself back to make somebody else comfortable. You know what I mean? And
100%.
And as soon as I was out of that partnership, as soon as that was dissolved and we were free and clear, like I've been all gas, no brakes ever since. Like we've absolutely just been on a rocket ship to get to this point. And then even in that huge ascent, like I've learned so much just in the last 18 months that I never would have learned had I stayed with them, because I wouldn't have been through the trials and tribulations that growing as fast as we've grown, puts on somebody. So yeah.
Yeah, you grow that quick, you get a lot of stress piled on you at a rapid pace. Yeah. That's for sure.
Anybody can do one company. I challenge you to do 7 companies in 18 months and do them successfully and continue to grow them and build them out and train and cross-train and put the people in place and do all that stuff.
So I also saw on your website that you've got like the rent-to-own option. So is that kind of a new thing that's come up, or where does that fall in, and where are you looking to take this? Because you've built up a pretty impressive operation already in 19 months. Where's your end goal, or not necessarily end goal, your next goal? So
that's
goal.
Actually, I wouldn't say it's a new initiative, but it's a refocus, right? So about a year ago, we had a property that we bought through one of our acquisition channels, direct mail, and we bought it we renovated it, and instead of flipping it, I wanted to see what a lease option looked like, right? So we did a lease option with a gentleman, and ended up getting like $15,000 down, and we were getting stupid money a month, and it was, it was really, really productive, to the point that when we were bringing that person in there, I was like, well, man, I want to rinse and repeat this as many times as I can, because this is really working out. I could just refinance this and just pay off my lender, and then we're going to cash flow like crazy off of this thing. And so I put something out there about on social media, in my local Facebook groups or whatever like that. We just did our first rent to own in the area. Can't wait till we do 5 more, right? And I just did it as hey, building my brand kind of a post, watering the seeds. And I got hit up by a local news station, and they said, hey, we're interested in your rent to own program. Like, would you have time to do an interview with us? And I was like, sure, not a problem.
Yes.
Not thinking anything about it. I was like, this is what I was trying to do in the first place. So we went down in front of that house, and we did a 20-second interview on camera, and just touched on, I'm going to be buying properties, putting them in a rent to own, da-da-da-da-da. And this is something that I really want to do moving forward. They aired that thing, and within two weeks, we had 187 people message us saying they wanted to be a part of the rent-to-own program. They wanted to be in, they wanted to be registered. So we went and did an Excel spreadsheet. We built basically a little PPL funnel and said, where do you want to be at? What do you need? Bed, bath count, like what school district, and what's your price range, right? And we did an Excel spreadsheet and took all of these people, so that way when we were buying properties, we'd reach out to them and do whatever. But
there's your dispo.
But honestly, at the time, it was me and one person. Like, I didn't have anybody else. Like, it was just me, and I had one property manager at the time that was doing everything. I did not have the staff. I didn't have the capabilities. I didn't have the understanding. Like, the infrastructure that I have now was not in place. You know what I mean? So for me to try to go out and find a property, walk the property, buy the property, renovate the property, like process everything, like I could literally, it's like the first time you ever went on a typewriter, you're just like hunting and pecking, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I was doing in real estate at the time, right? I didn't even know what I didn't know at the time, right?
Mess around and find out,
basically.
Man. That's what it's about.
Basically. So people got frustrated because I didn't have enough inventory for what their needs were, and they weren't getting followed up with. I didn't know how to do follow-up calls. I didn't know anything about VAs and having them set on like an email chain to where, hey, we're keeping the process rolling.
A little drip campaign.
Yeah, didn't know anything about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I said the words rent to own thinking that I knew what I was talking about, and I truly had no clue on what it really meant. And people got frustrated, and it just kind of fell off, right? So now, fast forward to this point, my acquisitions team is we do 7 to 10 wholesales a month, but that they also still supply the deals for us to get added rentals and fix and flips. So even though we wholesale 7 to 10, we probably do 3 to 4 flips a month, and we still pull in 3 to 4 buy and holds as well. So my team is bringing in 12 to 20 deals a month, right? So instead of me bringing in and doing buy and holds as long-term rentals, we're revamping this to where instead of long-term rentals, I'm going to start converting all of these over to lease options and do rent owns.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Because if they're good enough for me to have as a rental, they're good enough for me to have as a lease option. So
100%.
So I'm working with Ingrid Hernandez in the Owners Club, and her and I are actually working this out and building out the infrastructure that we need for the prerequisites to do these rent-to-owns. And it's going to be revolutionary. Like, legitimately, we have one of the properties ready to go right now, and I answered somebody's message on Facebook the other day. Hey, looking for a rental or rent to own, or I'm looking for a 3-bed. Anybody have anything? And I put in there, hey, we have actually a 3-bed townhouse that we are going to be doing rent to own for in the very near future. Message me and we'll see if we can get you pre-qualified, right? I've had 43 people private messaged me off that one comment
That's
that
amazing.
we have one property available and building this out. It's going to be insane.
Now, as far as, because I know Pace had his whole Pace Helps America, and like Ingrid was helping out with that. So yeah, I think that's a phenomenal connection there. So yeah, great one to be helping you out with that. But from like a vetting side of things, how do you typically vet them? Are you vetting them like a typical tenant, or what's your procedures there? And also from a finding a lease option buyer, like I've heard things from like going off of mortgage turn down lists, abandoned signs, Facebook.
No, I actually,
None of them.
I have the greatest lead source for potential rent-to-own buyers that cost you zero money.
Really? Pray tell.
So my property management company in Ohio and West Virginia, you have to have a broker's license to be a property management company, right? So I have partnered with a local broker who is a RE/MAX broker, and he and I are partners in the property management company. And I told him, if we're partnering with the property management company, every other avenue that I have on my real estate company, if there's a way that I can cross it over and bring value to your company as a brokerage, I'm going to do that, right? So what we're doing is I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a seminar for all of his agents and say, listen, we're building out this rent-to-own company. It's my goal that I'm going to do 28 of these a year, starting out year one, just to get established. That's one every 2 weeks, right? Is what my average is. I'm going to bring in 2 or 3 other investors that I know want to be in Ohio, and they're out-of-state investors, but because I have the property management company, I'll manage their properties for them. Because I have the maintenance company, I can make sure all the maintenance is done. So if you're an out-of-state investor and you're looking for inexpensive properties that give you a great return, I mean, we're talking 20 to 30% cash on cash, right? If you're looking for those types of returns and a long-term rental, then come in, let me roll your properties into our rent-to-own program. We'll manage them, we'll maintain them. I'll give you up-to-date synopsis on all of your expenses and how everything's doing, and I'm going to guarantee you these are the same properties I would buy. I just don't have enough money to buy them all, right? You bring your properties, I'll bring my properties. So if I do 28 and you have 3 other people that do 20 a year, that's an extra 60. We have 88 properties a year that we can do rent-to-owns on out through my program, right? I'll resource these.
Adds up quick.
Adds up very quickly, right? And 20 deals a year for an investor to be able to just bring in the private money, get a long-term lease option in place, let it season for 6 months, and then refinance out of it. You're only refinancing your private money out, and the rest of it's like it's an infinite return for yourself, right? Because once your private money's paid in, you have no money out of your pocket. We refinance your private money out. If you just take enough out to pay off your lender, right? Your private lender's paid off. So now you have no money in this deal at all. Your infinite cash on cash return. Even if you make $1, it's an infinite return, right? If the typical is $300 a month, right? So you make $300 a month off of each property, right? That tenant is paying your mortgage now, which you refinance out. They get the taxes and insurance, everything forwarded to them, because if you're going to be a homeowner, those are expenses that you're supposed to pay as a homeowner, right? But a bank won't work with you. So we're giving you the option to have this house as home ownership. You need to have the same expectations of paying those fees as well, right? So you don't have any of the expenses like you would typically have with a long-term rental. And then my maintenance company will go in and make sure that the maintenance and everything is done to where your property's value goes up year over year. So if they do not pick up the option, your property's still in great condition. It'll appreciate every year. You just rinse and repeat with somebody else after that and just keep the ball rolling, right? But what it does, that gives me an inventory to be able to go to these realtors and say, hey, how many people do you guys deal with that call up a bank and say they want to buy a
Can't
house
qualify.
and they can't qualify, right? Probably a dozen a month for a decent realtor, right?
So that's the interesting part there is like, how are you structuring from like a referral fee standpoint? Because I know that's one thing Pace was trying to figure out, and Ingrid, and I'm not sure if
So it's
like the amount that made sense.
basically just like a bird dog. So bird dog fee is $1,000, or
Yeah.
we could even make it a little bit sweeter and say $2,000, right? So if you're a real estate agent and somebody wanted to buy a house and the bank wouldn't qualify them, you as an agent will make zero money from that person traditionally, right? There's no way you're wasting your time. You're going to go through all the efforts. You were on the phone with them, listening to how their cat was sick in 1993, everything that agents deal with, right?
You've driven them all over the entire
You
country.
showed them 97 houses, you know what I mean? Like, you've gone through all of this for them to not be able to give you any return for your investment. Whereas, if they don't qualify, you bring them to us, we'll qualify them for our rent-to-own program, which is much less stringent than what a bank requires, right? If they qualify, guess what? I have this fancy new thing called creative listings, right? Because I have an owner. I'm part of Owners Club. I own this listing thing. All of my rent-to-owns are going to be on creative listing, right?
There you go. Let's
Search,
go.
you search for Ohio or West Virginia. You look up all of the rent-to-owns that are available or lease options that are available. You could then show that person on that listing thing everything that we have available, right? If they say, I'd like to have a 3-bedroom in this area, you look for what we have in that area. You find it. We'll have all the pictures and everything on there. We'll also have the lease details. It's going to be an $8,000 option fee or a $10,000 option fee, this much per month. This is what the taxes are. This is what the insurance are. The whole financial breakdown's there. So you're going to know whether you can even afford the place or not before the agent ever shows you the property. So the agent does not have to drive them to show them anything. They show them on creative listing. And then if the people's like, yeah, that actually fits exactly what we're doing, we've already pre-qualified them that they would be accepted into the program. So then the agent takes them and does the showing. We have lock boxes on all our properties. The agent lets them in, shows them the property. That's all they're required to do. If the people like it, perfect. You come over, we're going to check your employment history, verify your employment history. You've had a job for at least 2 years. You make more money than what the place cost. Like, you're financially stable. I don't care about your credit score, right? That's not a prerequisite for me. And do you have any violent offenses or drug charges as far as your background? Because I'm not going to put a repeat offender or have a meth house that has my name attached to it. That's pretty much it, right?
And from that, I mean, you've got also, oh geez, what was I going to say? From the credit standpoint, man, I completely lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll actually, while you're regathering yourself, I'll actually touch on that. So Ingrid and I both agree that our goal is to provide affordable housing, right? Our goal is not to set these people up for failure to where, we know 93% of people nationwide don't pick up the option, right? That's just a natural statistic. We want to change that statistic, right? We want to better it for people to be able to pick up the option and make money, because we are going to have $50,000-$60,000 in this, and we're going to be putting up for 120, 130, right? We're not like Arizona where COVID hit and property values went up $100,000. Like, we're not in that range. Like, we are going to have appreciation, but it's not going to be drastically appreciation, right? So we know we're not going to make a big swing. So if we lock them in at $120,000 for a 3-year lease option, it ain't going to be worth $230,000 3 years from now.
Yeah.
It's going to be worth, instead of 120, 130, right? Like, I'm okay with that, right? I've got 60 in it. I'm getting 120 out of it, and I made rent for 3 years. I've made my money. Like, we're good, right? So
that was the question, though, from the maintenance perspective, because you mentioned that your property management company is going to be making sure it's well maintained, which I think is super smart. Mm-hmm. But typically in these type of structures, you're usually, at least from people that I've seen do it, is they have the tenant pay for the maintenance because they have kind of that sense of ownership.
So the tenant does pay for the maintenance unless it's something that is outside of their parameters. Like if it's a major issue, like if you need to change a light bulb or you need to change a filter in your furnace, that's great. If you have a massive leak out of your hot water tank and you don't know how to do plumbing, then yeah. So if you call a traditional plumber in this area, say Dave's Plumbing, it's $100 for them to show up and they charge you $125 an hour. And it's at their discretion whether they send one or two guys depending on the nature of the call. So that $125 an hour is per guy. So they may charge you $250 an hour if they send two people because they deem it's a two-man job and you have no say-so over that. So very potentially, just to get them to show up, it could be $350 just for them to show up, right? I am charging for my maintenance
you don't
company.
want that. Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, for my maintenance company, I'm charging for our rent-to-own people and then any of the landlords that we're going to do property management for. I think it's only $40 an hour or $45 an hour with no show-up fee. It's just a flat
cheap.
rate, right? Because I pay my maintenance guys $20 or $25 an hour, right? Like, which in my area is a very solid wage, like $20-25 an hour. Not having a college degree, not having anything, you're just a blue-collar guy is a very stable job in my area, right? So for you to have that job, I'm charging you $40 or $45. Let's just say I'm making $20 an hour per guy, right? For a maintenance company, like my payroll's covered. That's all I care about, right? I'm not getting rich off the maintenance company, but at least I'm turning a profit. So if it's $20 an hour per guy, right? Two guys, I make $40 an hour. For 40 hours a week, I make $1,600 a week net, 32 in 2 weeks, $6,400 a month net off of two guys, right? Well, when you start doing the numbers, like you said, it adds up quickly. You start getting
Very quickly.
You start getting 80, 90, 100 of these rent-to-owns. Plus, you start bringing
Millions.
You start bringing into the fact that there's no property management in my area, so we very easily could be at 500, 600, 700 doors managed, not counting rent-to-own, inside of the next 12 to 18 months. You know what I mean? How many maintenance guys do I need to bring in to be able to cover that amount of doors, right? So if two guys makes me $6,400 a month, if I get to 500 doors, I could have 10 guys, right? So that's $30,000, $40,000 a month net on a maintenance company that covers my payroll.
Well, you've already very much far surpassed your 43K goal.
I got that wholesaling, right? So, so the other side of it is,
That's awesome.
so
That's absolutely awesome, Eric.
the way that we're actually working this out as well, since Ingrid and I both firmly believe in giving these people every chance for success, we're actually looking at building out a subscription model too for credit coaching for people to come in that have bad credit.
Love that.
My wife is a mortgage loan officer with a bank. She qualifies people every single day. She's gone through the bank's credit knowledge training and could very easily be an accredited, I think it's $150 for her to go take the test to be an accredited credit counselor, right? We could do a subscription model.
How did your conversation go with her today?
That if you're going to pay $20 a month to go to Planet Fitness but never go to Planet Fitness, right? Great. Part of our lease option program is we're going to offer this optional coaching. It's going to be $20 a month. Every single week, we're going to be sending you texts and emails with punch list items that are specific to you. If you message this credit company, if you send in this letter, if you do this, this will get removed off your credit rating will go up. Every single week, hey, did you do this, and this yet? Perfect. Because you did that, within 3 months, your credit should raise to this point. Now these are the next steps for us to do. And we build out a detailed credit plan for you that if you do the work, we will tell you how to do it, and you go and fix your credit to where in 2 years, when your option's up, you had a 550 score, you now have a 700 score, and you can go get financed anywhere that you want, right? If you're
awesome.
a 600, you could have a 650 or 750, 780 score in 2 years, and you're getting the greatest interest rates available because your credit is so much better because we coached you on how to do it, right? So we're not setting people up for failure, we're setting people up for success, right?
That's
So
great.
if you do that model and you have 80, 90, 100 doors a year between me and these other investors, and I'm charging $20 a month, what does that subscription service start bringing in, right?
Just an insane. No, I'm on the calculator over here doing numbers, and I'm like, this is insane.
100%. But it's absolutely doable. It's absolutely feasible. It's absolutely something that you can put into a drip sequence, right?
Yep.
You can have a VA going through. Once she does your original plan, right, you can have a VA going through and presetting these text messages for the week at $4 an hour, right, and having these ready to go. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be weekly. It's bi-weekly, once a month, whatever it is. You know what I mean? If you do these steps each month, your credit's going to be better because of it, right? And if we're charging you a monthly fee, we're going to give you monthly coaching to be able to help yourself, to put yourself in a better situation, right? We're also talking about if you don't want to wait the full 2 years or 3 years for the option, what does it look like that if you've paid 20% of what the original purchase price is? Say it's a $100,000 house, right? If your rent's $1,000 a month, after you've paid 20% in rent every single month, you passed all of your inspections and like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, right? We give you the option at that point that, hey, instead of you having to go get financing, we'll roll this over and we'll finance it in-house. We'll wrap it to you, right? And
You got the whole thing, man. I love it. This is great.
Instead of you going and qualifying for somebody and doing a hard pull and going through all of that, you already work with us. We trust you. You trust us. Let's get this done. We'll wrap it to you to where now your payments are actually going against the property, where one day you'll have home ownership and we'll just finance it in-house at whatever the market interest rate is. If you can get an 8% rate at Bank of America, you're going to get an 8% rate from us, right? Whatever it is, we'll just roll with it and be able to build out from that. And then we're getting the financing and stuff like that to where we allow people to have home ownership through our in-house financing as well. So
I absolutely love that, man. That's great.
Own program, like it's going to be revolutionary. Like we have so many layers to it, to where we're helping people get affordable home ownership that never would have a shot at it before. But it also creates so many levels for us to be able to capitalize and be a profitable company because of it. You know what I mean? Not being cutthroat, not hurting anybody's, you know.
Yeah, but I mean it's important for the operators to get paid, because that's how you're going to be able to produce the impact that you're going to be able to for these homeowners. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And if you have this type of inventory, I guess how many more employees you can do to start renovating these properties? Like the amount.
Yeah, the additional jobs you're providing for people. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Eric, this is honestly, I could go on for quite some time on this because this is awesome. This is fantastic,
Yeah,
but I want to make sure I'm being respectful of your time. What I do like to do is I like to do ownership lightning round. So I'm just going to fire some quick questions at you, and it's going to be just your gut response, and then we'll close out the show.
Man.
All right. First one is, do you have a property that you wish you never sold?
Property I wish I never sold. No, I have no emotional attachments to any of our properties.
No emotional
None.
attached. I like it.
Yeah, it's all for the betterment. Like we're moving forward.
If you could give any aspiring like new investor one piece of advice, what would it be?
Raise capital, but raise it a lot and raise it early.
Yeah. Which book do you recommend the most to people?
Diaries of a CEO.
I've heard that one's a really good one. I need to pick that one up. I've heard that from a few
Change your
people now.
mindset to go from being just somebody that's in the company to somebody that's running the company.
Yeah, Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. That's kind of that did the same thing for me. So
my wife's reading that now.
Oh, fantastic book. The last one habit that's made the biggest difference in your success.
It's all about mentality. So the thing that differentiates me from anybody else is I never think that it can't happen. Like I'm never the person that stresses about, oh, this bad thing happened, that bad thing happened, woe is me. I'm never that guy. Like I say it all the time, and I'm probably gonna have swags and t-shirts made up as I'm getting bigger. Like Rich Investments Group on the front, and the back of it's gonna be like, I'm built for this. Like I truly am.
Love it.
Like there's nothing that is an insurmountable thing. There's a lot of things that suck, right? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
We're-
there's always stuff that
there's
sucks. That's not going to
tons-
change no matter
tons
what.
of stuff that sucks, but it's never something that I'm to the point that like throwing my hands up like, God, oh my God, this is never going to work. I'm going to fail. We're going to, like, the world is ending. It's never that. I always have the mentality that there is nothing that I can't take care of. The only thing that is sure in life is you were born, you will die, and I don't fail. Those are the only things that are sure in life. So,
I love that, man. That's awesome. Love the mentality. So with that, if someone were to reach out to you from this, what would be the best way to reach out to you, get a hold of you? And then two, what's something of value that would, like, what are you looking for right now that they could bring you?
somebody to reach out to me. You can go through our website, richinvestmentsgroup.com. My email, eric@richinvestmentsgroup. Socials, I'm on Facebook, Rich Investments Group Facebook page, Eric Richards Facebook page, Instagram, the Eric Richards, my podcast studio. I mean, I'll answer any of our socials and absolutely open up and talk with anybody. I would say the thing that I'm looking at the most right now is very, very dedicated at raising capital. I have some big multifamily projects that I'm going to, like for instance, the building that we're moving our organization to. I think I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times probably on this podcast, but we're moving our offices to. I mean, I have a $300,000 balance on that building. I'm going to do the renovations of the apartment, and it's a large mixed-use building. So the commercial units are already put together. Once the apartments are done, that building is going to gross around $15,000 a month. So with the cap rate of what it is, I'm going to put $400,000 in renovations into this building. We owe $300,000, so there's going to be about a $700,000 debt service tied to it, not counting interest or whatever. But the evaluation for that building is going to be about $1.4 million. So I'm going to be
There you go.
like 50% of what the value is at that point. So to raise $400,000 to be able to do those renovations will catapult that building into $1.5 million valuation. Then you can leverage that valuation to go and get more lines of credit that then go buy bigger multifamilies and continue to grow and scale and build. And that's not something that like newer investors understand or grasp, but that is the superpower of multifamily properties. Like they have a completely different stratosphere as far as valuation goes, that if you want to scale and grow and build, allows you to do that in a way that nothing else does. And I'm just now getting into those, so I'm like, man, I want to do it with this one, have that proof of concept. I'll refinance it, pay my lenders back without question, but to take that capital out and then go do, I know there's 3 more multifamilies right now that are very similar to this one. So if I have a proof of concept on this one, I can do it 3 more times and catapult our valuation for the next year into $7-8 million worth of multifamilies, as well as the rent to own, as well as everything else that I'm doing. Like, it's going to be a game changer.
You're a machine, man. We're gonna have to start calling you Uncle G.
Listen, very, very soon. I just joined an Owners Club this year, but I'm going to be at the board meeting in October. And with what we're doing and what we're building out right now, I'd say by Squad Up Summit next year, I'm going to be a household name. And it's going to be
I love
revolutionary. And it's my goal, 12 to 18 months. I'm going to be on stages and I'm going to be doing speeches, and these stories that I'm telling
you will.
These stories that I'm telling you, like these are real things that I've gone through. These are real stories. Like I kind of compare these things to what Pace does with the bunnies, or the F-150 story, or like the guy going bankrupt on him. Like he's never looking at it as like a woe is me. He's looking at these stories as this is the reason why I took that next step. Right? So when people can relate to those things, it gives them power to feel like they can do the same thing as I'm doing. And that's really what I want to do. So I'm building all of this and doing all of this. I'm going to start getting into doing TED Talks and speeches. And one of these days I'll be on the Aspire circuit with Pace and Jamil and David Goggins and all these superstars. You know what I mean? But that's the trajectory. So it's pretty exciting.
Absolutely love that. That's great, man. Well, perfect. Well, Eric, I really appreciate your time, and yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
this is an awesome show.
Anytime you want to do it, just hit me up. We'll do it again.
All right.